So continuing on my story. So, I grew up a poor child. Poor, as a child of a ranching and farming family in Texas. We were poor, really poor. We had a roof over our head and food on the table, but that was the extent of our wealth, so to speak. But somehow my mom, a single parent living on a very low income, found the money for me to have music lessons since the age of 3. And somehow I was singing from birth, and she recognized that. She recognized that that was different. So for those of you who don't know, my mom was an artist. She was also a florist. She just had a very, very good eye for creativity. Later on in life, she picked up quilting, and she did quillos, which is a combination of a quilt and a pillow. And she did those for every family member. She made them herself. And then also later on in life, she started to make those quillos for children who had been through traumatic circumstances. They would give them a quillo, and I guess it would help in some way. So anyway, my mom has always been very artistically inclined, and I guess me singing from birth and being so attracted to music from birth got her attention. And it's the old story where your mom doesn't have the money to buy a winter coat, and went without a winter coat and went without clothes and went without shoes and things like that to afford things for her children. So growing up, my mom scraped some money together to purchase singing lessons for me and music lessons for me. So I was singing from birth, and I trained in music a really, really long time, like a really, really long time, all through growing up with a variety of different music teachers. I played guitar when I was younger. I also played piano a little bit when I was younger. And but I don't play guitar or piano anymore. Mostly I play percussion. I play drums and rattles, and I also play native flute, which is also wood flute. I have a variety of different flutes that I play, and I don't, so prototypically in traditional native way, wood flute is played in courting. Right? When the gentleman wishes to get the lady's attention, he goes to her house and he plays the flute for her, basically, or he hangs outside her house, or a variety of different ways that they do that. But I don't play the flute for courting purposes. I play the flute because there are times in my life when it's like I feel overwhelmed with emotion. Sometimes, most of the time, that's anger. Sometimes it's sadness. But, like all humans, we get these overwhelming emotions sometimes. And for me, I always wish to remain in balance, to stay in balance, to stay in spirit, to stay in a prayerful frame of mind and a respectful frame of mind. So the reason that I play native flute has nothing to do with courting. It has to do with, at those times when the largest part of me is some big emotional, center, I guess you could say, or when I'm feeling some intense emotions, I play flute and I pour those emotions into the flute, and somehow hearing the flute's echo, the sound of the flute back at me, ultimately calms me down. It gives me a way to express those feelings, whether or not they're anger or vexation or frustration or sadness or happiness even. When I'm extremely swelled up with emotion, I play flute and it calms me down. I also play flute when I'm calm and at peace. I play flute when I'm thinking about others and, you know, I'm thinking about how to help them and things. I play flute because it's just a part of me, and I can't explain that anymore. I don't think I have words for that. So going back to, I guess, my story. So I had singing and music lessons from an early age. Ultimately, I went to college on a music scholarship. I did sing professionally after college in weddings and funerals and in local rock, country, and punk bands. I mean, it's nobody you ever heard of. Like, this is really grassroots, small followings, that kind of thing. So anyway, but the thing is that during this time after college, even though I was near perfect technically, I just didn't feel the music in my soul, if that makes sense to you. And music teachers are notoriously hypercritical as well. So I thought, well, I must not be any good like they intimated. The reality is I was a mezzo-soprano, and they were only trying to make me better and more technically perfect, which I realize now that I'm older. So I was in my 20s and singing professionally and working a day job as well when I met my late husband. When I met him, I decided to put down my music career, so to speak, even though I didn't make that much from it, thinking I was just not any good. Even though I put my music down, so to speak, I still had songs, thousands of them in my head, and they still wrote themselves in my head, even though I didn't perform them for anyone. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that on in part 3. Thank you so much for listening so far.